Hey, this is Connie Jones with the Warrior Arise podcast, where we empower men and women to live in the freedom and fullness of their God-given identity, purpose, and potential. Each episode is filled with transformational insight, counseling and coaching wisdom, practical tools, personal growth and wellness expertise, and biblical truth designed to bring healing, clarity, and courage. Whether through the solo episodes or powerful interviews with purpose-driven leaders, you'll be equipped to unleash your powerful warrior within so that you can live and lead bravely, freely, and authentically in your life, work, and calling. Let's go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back. We've got Andra Prowant, one of our Arise therapists, with us again for back a second round. Welcome, Andra.
Yeah. Yes, thanks. So good to be back as always. I love having these conversations.
Yes. Well, you've got so much wisdom and insight. I always call you the little powerhouse here. That you've got so much that comes out of that little body. It's just amazing just how much breakthrough you are the queen of breakthrough. You help people you can really see things, and the Lord shows you where the stuck places are, and you just have so much to offer, and it's just fun to watch your clients come in and the results that they get, and how you speak into their lives and work with them. And so the last episode, what we really focused on was just hearing your heart and hearing how you became a therapist, and what who you help and how you help them. And, more generally, just your lens for counseling and coaching and getting people that breakthrough, that transformation. So if you guys have not listened to that episode, go back and listen to that. It's episode number 1 for this podcast. And, but we're back today because what I wanted to dive into is, one of the areas that you have an expertise in, just one of the areas. You've got many expertises, but one of the things that you really help people with is improving communication and having healthy, effective communication that, as you say, leads to connection, rather than disconnection. And then also having healthy conflict resolution and effective conflict resolution. And so, tell us, first of all, who do you see needs that? Like, I mean, who doesn't need that, right? But like, how do you, when you work with people, who do you help have better communication and improve conflict resolution?
Well, that is anyone that's breathing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if we're alive, we need, we can always make room for growth. That's kind of what I say. Even in my own life, I'm always making room for growth.
Absolutely.
Always open to that. And yeah, we're just constantly becoming a better version of ourselves. But I do work a lot of couples. Like, obviously, marriage is one of the big areas where conflict shows up the most often, and the most intense a lot of times. And, just families also, working with parents and kids, teenagers especially, or parents with their young adult children.
Yeah. Like this morning, just for instance, you and I had a quick conversation about a teenager. I think she's 18, who is frustrated with her parents. And she was, kind of had valid feelings of frustration because they were being a little controlling, a little too, a little too overbearing. So she had some valid feelings, but the way that she went about having her outburst was not very effective. And I remember you saying, and I thought, that's really smart. Like, yes, you're going to do the family work with them. Yes, you're going to see the mom and the dad and help them, more effectively parent and understand what's really going on and change that dynamic. But then you're also seeing the child or seeing the girl and saying and helping. And you said to me this morning, you said, I just want to help her learn some new ways of communicating what she really needs and expressing what she needs in ways that she can feel heard. And I just thought, wow, that's really, I mean, it was just really cool to hear that. So you really do it with like everybody, all different people, all different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've even had a lot of times, people come in for personal conflict,
Yeah.
also, though it kind of overlaps into sometimes in their work environment.
Yes.
I have a lot of people that come in with like anxiety, especially anxiety, and there's always some sort of tension at
Oh
work
yeah.
or someone they don't get along with, or someone that is just, there's a lot of conflict with. So it can be in personal or professional life.
Yeah.
A lot of times it just kind of overlaps there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times in communication, particularly when we're in what we call that stress cycle or the fear
There you go. I
cycle.
wanted you to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, most of us have heard of aggressive, passive, or passive aggressive communication. And those are the styles that show up in that fear cycle. And really, all of those are powerless. It's like, someone that's aggressive is overexerting their power, demanding.
Yeah.
You know, I always say there's like levels of that. There's like mild aggressive is like yelling and you have an attitude and, the way that you're coming across and expressing yourself, sort of like a scary bear,
Yes.
versus a passive person that's just shut down and disappearing, so to speak. Maybe not, scared. They're scared to express their needs or their feelings. So it goes kind of both ways, but either way, all of those are creating this. They're powerless.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of a misuse of our God given power.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
we end up like just this reaction cycle, and it can be 100 different conflicts, like content, conflicts, which we're arguing over something practical, just something the way I would say stupid, because it could be a lot of different conflicts,
Yeah.
but no matter what, it ends up being the same cycle.
Yeah, that's it. And so when
Yeah.
people are, you know, in that fear cycle, in that stress cycle, they are communicating in ways that are aggressive or passive aggressive. And it doesn't come out. So they are powerless in saying what they want to say. And then it's not heard. It's not validated. It's not understood. And then on the other side, what happens? And then how does the cycle, how does that loop around? How do they get stuck in the loop?
Yeah, I mean, when someone is triggered in some way or activated in some way and they have a feeling, they're going to have a reaction, and then it triggers the other person's feelings and their reactions, and we're just kind of on autopilot. And I always say when we're reacting, it's thoughtless action. So we're getting defensive. We're feeling like, oh, we have to protect ourselves from or justify why we said or did what we did. So it's sort of this, or we could end up feeling just defeated and sort of give up. Um, and I think that, in that cycle, there's a lot of judgment. Whereas
Yep.
now I didn't create this, I wouldn't say, but my version of it is just kind of out of all my experience, I created what I call the love cycle.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of moving into that different place where we are powerful and we're managing ourselves, but it's a place of curiosity
Mm.
and not judgment,
Rather than what? Curiosity
rather than
as opposed to what?
as opposed to the judgment that we often think about. "Well, I know why that she did that, or I know why he did that, or I know I just am making a lot of
I
assumptions
know
instead
that
of
he
getting
was
curious."
ignoring me. I know he did that on purpose. I know. Yeah.
It's the story. We have that story in between the feeling and the reaction. There's always a narrative,
Yes.
right? There's always a story about ourselves and about the other person typically.
Yep.
So, and when we're going through discovery of this, exploring this, it has to be in curiosity and not judgment. Because I always say, you can't really change what you don't see. So if you don't ever identify your specific fear cycle, like I have one, you have, well, we all have one. We're just because we're human, we're born into a fear cycle. We're going to have one.
Yes.
And it's unlearning some things and learning some different ways of approaching that and managing ourselves. Conflict is a huge place for transformation to
Yes.
happen.
That is, I
Yeah.
love that. I always say that conflict is, I'm so glad you brought that up. The conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is an opportunity, it's an invitation to create
Hmm.
deeper connection and more understanding, just like you said. But
Yeah.
we don't know, no one taught us how to do that. So we just feel lost in it and avoid it and think it's this bad thing and think it's going to tear, it's going to be the very thing that tears everything down, when actually it's the avoidance of it that is the real problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in that cycle, we end up blaming and shaming other people, and we argue about who's right and who's wrong. And, in that whole fear cycle where it's just disharmony and it's creating more disorder, dysfunction, we're not able to identify the real problem.
Yeah.
Like we get lost on rabbit trails, right? About, things that happen here. We can't even focus on if we do know what the problem is. We're not focused on solutions, being solution focused. And we're just going down rabbit trails of different, you know, problems.
Yes.
And there's a lot of times there's no ownership. It's just like I'm waiting to defend myself. Um, or manipulate or control the other person or when someone says you make me mad, well, that's basically, I always say, it's saying that, yeah, we do influence others feelings, right? If we hurt someone,
Yeah.
we need to take ownership for that.
Yes.
But if I get hurt, it's up to me to decide, how am I going to manage that, and how am I going to work through that, how am I going to process that, and how am I going to respond to that and not react to that. Because if I'm saying, well, you make me mad, you're all to blame for my emotions. I'm saying you have more power over me than I do. And that's just not,
Right.
that's just not accurate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. How do you then, what are some of the things that you can share with us today that you use to help people learn how to communicate in an empowered way that does promote connection?
Yeah. One of the biggest things is that emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
having a high level of skills, because in emotional intelligence, it's
Yeah.
EQ. We call it emotional quotient is like your IQ,
Right.
except you're emotional and intellectual. And it's so important. There's skills we can learn. So if I don't know how I'm feeling, I'm certainly not going to be aware of how someone else is feeling.
Mm,
And all this emotional confusion is not going to allow me to have clarity.
that's right.
So
It's just
it's
chaos.
really, yeah, so I have to learn my feelings to notice and name those. I need to learn patterns of what my patterns of reaction are, what my habits are. When I do get triggered or activated, what happens?
Yeah.
So that I can then learn to navigate through that. I can learn to respond, which is thoughtful action.
Yes.
And I can also, if I'm calm and I'm responding, I can listen really well. And I want to listen better than I talk. So I always say that, the first goal of conflict is to understand, not to be right.
Yeah.
Um, and so
That's a
if
hard one
we are,
because we all want to be right.
and we may be,
Right. Yeah.
we may be right, but the point is, are you going to make it about the relationship or about being right? That's the point, is taking it much deeper than right or wrong
Am I going
and
to
making it about,
connect? Or am I
The
going to choose to,
connection.
yeah, am I going to choose to be right, which is self protection, right? And it's always leads,
Yeah.
self protection always leads to disconnection. Yeah.
Yeah. So if my goal is to connect, I'm going to want to listen and I need to be heard. If you're on the other end of that, you want to be heard and need to be heard. And it's learning to communicate that as well.
Yeah.
So one person can be clearly on their fear cycle and the other person on the love cycle. And it's really, being patient and inviting that other person, hey, do you want to come over to this place with me where we can actually problem solve, where we can really, you know, hear each other, listen, and, you know, be victors and, be responsible for our part of this equation.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
it's,
it's
it's,
walking people through the skill of doing that. It's how it's teaching people, how do we actually do this? And it's
yeah,
amazing when we learn and when we do it well and when we work together to, or maybe it's not, maybe you have both in the room and they both are learning, or maybe it's just one that's learning, one part that's learning, but it can completely change the effectiveness of the conversation and help get needs met that are in a way that is truly transformational.
it is. I mean, I think, it goes back to we train, one of my mentors says we train each other how to treat each
Yep.
other. And it's really learning a lot of times when one person starts to change, the other one's like, no, this is not we. I mean, they're not saying that, but it's like an unconscious, this isn't how we do relationship. This isn't how we argue. This isn't how we fight. And, trying to pull the other person back into that. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of consistency and a lot of practice. And I always say, sometimes we can look at this and the way I map it out for people, they're like, oh, I get that. I
Mhm.
totally see that. But then the application part is so much harder because we have the conscious competence first.
Yeah.
And then we have to learn to move to the unconscious competence where it's just like now it's like riding a bike. I get on the bike, I pedal, I go, and I hardly even think about it.
Yeah.
So there's a process in between those two, um, of learning the skills.
Yeah.
So EQ is a big part of that. There's nervous system regulation. I mean, kind of mentioned that
Talk
yesterday.
about that for just a second. Yes, you did mention it in the last um episode, but just speak to that for just a second, how important that is in conflict resolution and communication.
Yeah. And that is those are just some steps that we can actually take to, regulate our emotions. And when we get activated we call it bottom up. And so you're actually, really working with your nervous system to let whatever that has been hijacked
Yeah.
to let it complete and not try to escape it, not try to avoid it, not try to push it away or tell yourself, "Oh, I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel, any of this fear or discouragement or whatever I'm
Yeah.
feeling," but allowing yourself to feel it and let it process through.
Yeah.
So there's steps to that, but when we can practice that outside of the conflict, we're going to be much better at managing ourselves going in to a disagreement or a conflict.
Yeah.
So like that again, sort of training
Right.
your nervous system, what to do when it gets activated and how to work through that. So that's another, really big key in having showing up healthy in a relationship.
More skills. It's amazing that we don't learn these things. No one teaches us these. Like we do the very best we can with what we've got, but we are functioning with less than par skills. And then we get in we let our emotions run us. And who
Yeah.
wouldn't? Of course we do. And then we're not very effective. And the results that we get are just, we stay in those cycles of frustration, and then our
Yeah.
relationships become stressful rather than enjoyable.
And part of the work is going to the root, like we talked
Yeah.
about too, because a lot of the ways that we're, triggered or activated they're subconscious. They're like, familiar
Yeah.
feelings, and it's rooted in a belief. And so we do also have to, explore that and see what's actually there and
Yeah.
transform or reframe that. There's a reframing process
Yeah.
to reframe, those old beliefs and the old patterns that we have that keep showing up.
Yeah.
The old
The
story and
story, the
strategies that
narrative. That's right.
have that keep showing up.
Yeah.
We, have to repattern those. We have to reframe them.
Yeah.
So that's part of it too.
I love that. And so then it doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter what kind of dynamic, doesn't matter if it's a couple or someone having a needing, help with work conversations, or if it's a parent and a child, that's you you can help. That's your
Yeah.
that's your sweet spot.
Yeah. I just and I really, really am passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it's humbling to see, honestly, when people do the work
Right.
and take the tools, and I can only go so far with
Yeah.
it for them. They have to do the work. But if they do it, I'm telling you, it's amazing to watch the transformation that can happen, the potential and the possibilities that can happen.
It absolutely
Um,
is. Yeah. The other
yeah.
thing that
And it's okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We say, well, we're never going to be
Oh
perfectly,
gosh, no.
you know, it's just like what I always talk, especially couples. I'm like, when you get in the fear cycle, it's not a matter if you're going to get in the fear cycle.
Right.
It's a matter of how long you stay there.
Yes, that's exactly right. And heck, I'll get in my fear cycle 40,000 times a
Yeah.
day. And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of whether I recognize it or not and step back out of it and don't react from it. I respond from a different place. Respond
Yeah.
from a regulated place, not from not react from my fear based place. And
Yeah.
we're in it. I mean, we get in there so fast we don't even know it, and then it goes all wrong. So let me ask this, and then we'll close. But so for people who want to know more about this fear cycle, well, obviously overall, we'll talk about that in just a second. If they want help with communication, conflict resolution, or just just improving relationships, whether it be parent to child, or parent to parent, or co-parenting, or whether it be couples, or what it is, you're obviously the one that they can call to help. But talk about the fear cycle. You do that with all of your clients. Yes. That's something that
Um,
or most of your clients, you help them recognize what that is. And then once they do recognize that, what does that do for them?
yeah. It is really a game changer
Yeah.
because it brings awareness. If it's like, for example, with a couple, especially,
Yeah.
or with just awareness of it can actually bring some change, because with the more you're aware, the more you're not going to you're like, just this is why I'm doing this. This is what's happening right now. So it gives them a level of just
Yeah.
confidence, just being aware of it actually. And sometimes it's three steps forward, two steps back. But the more that they practice it and learn, and then we go to the love cycle, and we're like, we replace the whole fear cycle with a different response,
Yeah.
and learn a lot of things on that side of the equation of how you want to show up, how you want to respond and not react. What's the goal there? Um, but it really gives people hope. I think to begin with, they start out just feeling really hopeful,
Yeah.
um, about the possibilities. And it's kind of fun, like when couples come back and they've done it, and then, you know, and not in a condemning way, but it's good for them to know each other's fear cycle, because then if you know your spouse's cycle, you're like, can clearly not point it out and not judge them, but be like, oh, that's what's going on. Are you okay?
Yeah. Not
What do
like
you
you're in
need
your
right?
fear cycle way, in an accusatory
Yeah.
way. But hey, I sense that you're really you're kind of maybe in the fear cycle right now, or maybe you don't feel safe. That's most of
Yeah.
communication is resistance in
Right.
communication, and conflict is because we don't feel safe, emotionally safe,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. And that's one of the tools that we use on the love cycle is called safe talk.
Yep.
and learning, to understand when you're feeling that defensiveness. We can all feel when we're offended, where that the fear cycle's rising up in us. We can all feel that, and to set your own personal boundary that you're not going to participate now in that, because you're not going to give them the best version of you.
That's right. Yes. No way.
Um,
There's no way. Well, we don't even have access to all of when we're dysregulated, we don't have access to our resources internally.
right.
We're not the best version of ourselves at all. We're in a lower level version of ourselves. And we want to
Yeah.
be calling each other up into the higher level versions of each other, of ourselves, so that we can have the kind of relationship and the kind of connection that we were created for.
Yeah. And it's harmony. It creates this harmony.
Yeah.
It's not Harmony does not mean void of
Right.
conflict. And one of the important things too that I point out, and I know we need to wrap it up, but is that when we're looking for agreement, like understanding, like a lot of couples will be like, well, he just doesn't understand me. She doesn't understand me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that they don't understand. More than likely, they might not,
Yeah.
but more than likely that they don't agree.
Yeah.
That's a huge, huge perspective shift
Yes.
of, we don't have to agree.
Yeah.
We need to understand
Yes.
each other.
Yes.
But we're looking for agreement, and we're saying they don't understand. They don't understand, because it's more about they're not getting agreement.
That's right. Yes.
So it's just it's a lot of, it's just important work.
Yeah.
It's just vital.
Oh, it is.
The
That's a great word. It is vital. It's vital work.
It is to the health and well-being of the relationship,
Yes.
and
100%.
really a person too,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, it to your own health and well-being,
Yeah.
to really know how to get on the love cycle. It's so huge for your health and well-being, and the health and well-being of the relationship of the couple, or the whatever relationship it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes so much sense. It's incredible work that you're doing. So, well, if someone is listening to this and they want to, they want to, find out, okay, hey, I really like that. I want to do that. I want to find out if that's something that would help me. What do they do? Where do they start?
So they can reach out. I mean, obviously go to our website and you can look under my profile, but they can also email Andra, ANDRAP, Prowant, Andra P at arisecounselingandcoaching.com.
Great. Well, thanks so much for sharing today with us. And I know there's so many people out there who need to hear this and want more of this. And so you guys don't hesitate. If this is resonating at all, just reach out and and let's just get started. And we would love to, Andrew would love to teach you these things, so that, any um stress or pressure at all with communication and conflict is just gone. And it can absolutely change the state of your relationships in a major way. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining us today. And then also, if this did resonate with you guys, or with you, and somebody else that needs to hear it, please share it, pass it on. And because we want to impact, we want people to have more breakthrough and more freedom, in personally and in their relationships. And that's what we're all about here. So thanks so much, Andra, for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Always.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Love it.
Okay. Well, it always is. I just love you to death. So wish everybody could experience the magic of Andra. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, thanks,
You're
y'all.
always so empowering and so encouraging.
Well,
That
thanks.
means a lot.
Oh, well, thanks. It's
I
fun.
love
It's
you.
fun to do this work together, right?
It is.
Changing the world, changing people's lives. It's good. Well, you guys.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching, or listening and watching.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
absolutely. All right. Well, you guys, we will see you on the next episode. And thanks for joining us. See you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. I'm so glad you tuned in to this episode of the Warrior Arise podcast. I look forward to continuing our journey together as we live in freedom and fullness as the powerful warriors that we are. Please subscribe to be notified of new episodes. And if you gleaned wisdom and inspiration today, please share it with a friend or loved one. Also, write a review on iTunes, and I'll see you on the next episode.